What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo. So today I'm bringing to you my top 5 new cards coming out of Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge. There's plenty of amazing reprints coming out in the set, like Boral Sword Dragon. We've got high rarity upgrades of really good cards like Artifact Lancia and Pankratops. But for this video, I want to solely focus on the new cards coming out of this set, because there are several cards in here that are going to impact the meta in one way or another, and you're going to get to first see these cards shown off at the Pro Play Tour event taking place in Richmond, Virginia this weekend. So if you're in the area, be sure to stop by. I'll have links down in the description so you guys can pre-register. It's only 20 bucks for a $2,000 prize pool, and I'll be there doing commentary for the live stream. So be sure to sign up, but let's go ahead and get right into the video. So kicking things off with number 5, I have number 97, Draglubion. Now, this is a very interesting card. I think it's a little bit niche, but it has a very powerful effect for what it's worth. It's a Dark Dragon Xyz effect monster with 3000 attack and 3000 defense. It is a rank 8, so it requires any 2 level 8 monsters to make, so it is generic. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. You can detach 1 material from this card, take 2 dragon number monsters with different names from your extra deck and or graveyard, except number 97 Draglubion, special summon 1 of them, and attach the other to it as material. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon other monsters or declare an attack except with that special summon monster, and you can only use this effect of number 97 once per turn. So let's go ahead and start off with the fact that this is a generic level 8 that can't be targeted. That's pretty good, since a lot of very powerful removal and disruption comes in the form of targeting effects. But beyond that though, this card has a very powerful effect in the fact that you get to special summon any dragon number Xyz monster from your extra deck or graveyard for that matter. That's still pretty good. And then you not only get to special summon it, but you get to attach something as material underneath it as well. Hope Harbinger is a dragon, so that means you could have a spell negator. You could have something like number 107 or number C107 for that matter, if you're trying to go in and just kill your opponent, because not only does it get to be summoned, but it also gets material underneath it so that it can use its ability. Sure, it's the only monster that can attack, but when you're summoning a C107, you're probably going to win the game outright anyway. Now, the big downside to this card is the fact that you can't special summon anything else for that turn, but I think it's a good combo ender for any of the rank 8 decks out there, because if your last play is to summon something that is a rank 8, you can summon this, then you can detach to summon a number 38 Hope Harbinger, so that way you have a negation for a spell card, but you also have an additional 3000 attack body that can't be targeted in addition to the Hope Harbinger as well. It does take up 2 extra deck slots, so that is something to consider, but I think for any of the rank 8 decks going forward, this is a pretty solid card. It might see play in the Thunder Dragon decks just because Colossus is an 8, assuming the ban list is kind to the strategy, but overall, I think it's a pretty solid card. It has a very high ceiling, and any deck that's going to be playing level 8s, especially a combo deck, is going to like this card. But coming in at number 4, we have the only trap card to make it on this list, but it's a very powerful one at that, and that is Dark Sacrifice. So Dark Sacrifice is a normal trap that reads, when your opponent activates a card or effect that will destroy a card or cards on the field, negate that effect. Then send 1 level 3 or lower dark monster from your deck to the graveyard. So this is really powerful for a few reasons. First off, the fact that it basically bestows protection to your board from any sort of destruction, not just a single targeting destruction, but from mass destruction as well, is insane. But in addition to that, this is basically just more dark support. And we all know that dark is the most heavily supported attribute, probably the strongest attribute in the entire game. So did it really need more support? Probably not. But one of the interesting synergies here is in tandem with Lilith. Now, Lilith is a level 3 dark monster, so it does meet the criteria to help fulfill Dark Sacrifice, but also Lilith can set Dark Sacrifice directly from the deck, and so you're going to be seeing this combination used a lot in the Mystic Mind burn strategies that are already seeing play, because Lilith is already incredible for that deck as is, but now that you have a card that you can search to protect your board, as well as just anything else that that deck can already have, is incredible, because it's going to mean your Mystic Mind burn is going to survive through a lot more forms of removal. Not to mention, being that this card is a normal trap, you can trap trick it out, so that also is just another incredible synergy. It's just a really powerful card. Beyond that, you also have any synergy with any dark, attributed monster that you'll ever see moving forward. I mean, Burning Abyss could play this. It probably doesn't have to, but the fact that they're level 3 darks, like imagine can you dark sacrifice one of your opponent's cards to protect something, and then you send a Farfa from your deck to the graveyard to banish one of your opponent's monsters for the remainder of the turn. Like, that's value. That is a ton of value right there. This card is incredibly powerful, and do not underestimate it, because you're going to be seeing it a lot in any sort of dark-based strategy, but probably most notably Mystic Mind Burn. Now, coming in at number 3, we have the first of several new Link monsters, and these are some Link monsters that came out of Link Vrains Pack 2, I believe, in Japan, so you know that these cards are going to be incredibly powerful, the first of which making the number 3 slot, Psy-Framelord Lambda. Now, Psy-Framelord Lambda is a light psychic effect monster with 1700 attack. It is a Link 2, requiring 2 monsters except tokens. Now, the effect reads you can activate the effects of Psy-Frame Gear monsters in your hand, even while you control a monster or monsters. If a face-up psychic monster you control is banished face-up while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can activate this effect. During the end phase of this turn, add 1 Psy-Frame card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Lambda once per turn. So let's go ahead and discuss the fact that this is basically a generic Link 2 that has bottom left and bottom right arrows, which we have a couple of those, but the fact that not only this has 1700 attack, but it also has an effect to go with it, pretty much makes it one of the best generic Link 2s that you can be playing. So even if you're not going to use Lambda for its effect, the arrows are good enough to just justify playing this card anyway. There are some fringe uses where you're going to want to be able to use Link using tokens, like if you're playing against like Mystic Mind Burn, since we mentioned if they summon like Ojama Trio, or just random niche interactions like that, but for the most part, Lambda should be just fine as being a generic go-to Link 2. But now let's talk about the effect. Just imagine having Lambda on your field in addition to whatever other sorts of disruption you have, and you have a copy of Psy-Frame Gear Gamma in your hand. Since Lambda's on the field, you can drop Gamma from your hand at any moment, even though you control monsters. And as we know, Gamma is one of the most premier hand traps of the entire format, probably of the entire game, but it just has the massive downside of the fact that you can't control monsters. So that fact that Lambda bypasses that means that you can play Gamma and actually have a pretty solid board and not be afraid to have Gamma in your hand, because you can still use it to disrupt your opponent. It makes Lambda a prime target for removal, because your opponent's going to always be wondering if you have that Gamma or not, because if they try to play something and if you have that Gamma, it could just be completely sniped out and it could be GG from there. So it's something that they have to prioritize if they see Lambda on the field, creating this interesting mind game whether or not you have Gamma or any other Psy-Frame monster in your hand altogether. I think this card is just absolutely amazing, definitely a solid pickup, and definitely worthy of my number 3 slot. But coming in at number 2, we are taking a throwback to one of Yu-Gi-Oh's most iconic monsters from the original anime, and it's actually a pretty good card too, Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. So Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos is an Earth Warrior Link effect monster with 3000 attack. It is a Link 3, but it requires 3 monsters with different names, so that's pretty easy to bring out. Now, if this card was Link summoned using a level 7 or higher monster as material, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects as well. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate one of these effects. It either gains 1500 attack, it can make a second attack during the battle phase of your next turn, or banish 1 card on the field. I think what I like about this card the most is how generic it is, and the fact that you only need 3 monsters to make it, and that includes tokens. They just have to have all different names. And the thing is, with dangers currently being so present in the game, it's really easy to assemble 3 monsters on your field. And not to mention, Danger Nessie just happens to be a level 7, so you can fulfill that condition to make this card not be able to be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. But let's talk about that second effect, being able to just get any of these 3 abilities once it destroys one of your opponent's monsters. Gaining the 1500 attack is nice, but again, it can't really attack again, so that's not really too powerful. Getting a second attack during the battle phase could be amazing, but you do have to wait till the next turn. So I think the third and best ability is being able to banish 1 card on the field. It doesn't target, it doesn't destroy, it just banishes, and I think that's a nice form of removal. But there are some cute tricks you can do with this card in tandem with a card like, let's say, Update Jammer, where it almost effectively becomes like a different way to go into Borrelsword Dragon. But what's nice here is that because if you make it with a level 7, it's like a Borrelsword Dragon that can't be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and sometimes that's one of the weaknesses of going into a Borrelsword. So take this for instance. Let's say you have 4 monsters monsters on the field. Let's say you make an update jammer and then you still have update jammer plus 2 monsters that have different names. You can link off into this monster and then say one of those was a level 7, like say it was a Nessie or something like that. Now you have a 3000 attack monster that is untargetable, can't be destroyed by card effects, and it also gets to make 2 attacks during the battle phase, which means that plus 1500 attack boost actually seems pretty good because it can swing in for 3000, get the 1500 boost if it destroyed a monster, then swing in for another 4500 damage. So that is a lot of damage just from one card, and that might be a little bit optimistic, but I just love the fact that this card is really strong. It's super easy to make, and I think that banishing in generic form of removal, the fact that it doesn't target or destroy, is prime. Definitely something not to underestimate, and that's why I went ahead and gave this card my number 2 slot. But that's going to bring us to my number 1 new card coming out of Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge, and if you haven't already figured it out, it's Salamangreat Almiraj. This card just does it all. So for those of you who don't know, Salamangreat Almiraj is a fire Cyberse Link effect monster with 0 attack. It is a Link 1, but it only requires 1 normal summon monster with 1000 or less attack. As a quick effect, you can tribute this card, then target 1 monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects this turn. When a normal summon monster you control is destroyed by battle, while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use this effect once per turn. So you might read this and think that, that's not really too powerful, so why would I really want to play this? The effect isn't the reason why you play Almiraj. It's the fact that it is a generic, or I guess somewhat generic Link 1 that just requires a normal summon monster with 1000 or less attack. Now, why is that good? Well, the reason is the amount of combos that this card enables. Let's start by looking at Orcust. When you take a look at the Phantom Knight cards that are typically bricks, this card now makes the Phantom Knight cards 1-card Orcust combos, because you can take one of those Phantom Knights and normal summon it, link off into Almiraj, then you can banish that Phantom Knight, search your Shade Brigandine, activate it, and now you have 2 monsters on the field to go off into your full Orcust combo, making those Phantom Knight cards that are traditionally bricks into full combo enablers. Now let's take another example. Let's look at a more roguish deck like Altergeist. Altergeist can now incorporate a card like Sangan. Yeah, we're going back to Sangan, ladies and gentlemen. You can normal summon Sangan, link it off into Almiraj, and that's going to trigger Sangan's ability to search for a monster with 1500 or less attack and add it to your hand. Well, Multi-Faker just happens to fulfill that criteria, so you're going to have Multi-Faker in your hand, effectively boosting the consistency of your deck. You're going to set all your traps, and now you for sure have Multi-Faker going into your opponent's turn, which means your engine is going to get online. It's these interesting interactions that Almiraj enables that is going to make this card the most playable card and probably the strongest new card out of Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge. Let me know down in the comments what other cool combos you guys have with this card. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video helpful, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.